Hello everyone, this is Jody Grinwald and welcome to the Today is the Day Changemakers podcast. On this week's episode, I welcome my guest, Megan LoBue. Megan is the Membership and Development Manager for Art Pride, New Jersey. Art Pride is the voice for the New Jersey arts community, the state's largest service and advocacy organization, and the go-to resource for research and innovative programs supporting a vibrant creative community. Megan and I talk about how the arts is home to so many, and Art Pride is there to support all those who feel that connection. We also talk about Megan's experience on the stage and how the stage often helps us to create a character that at times pushes away fear of judgment. It is off the stage when we have to be ourselves that many feel vulnerable and often judged. We explore these points as so many feel anxiety in their lives but never really speak about it. What if we could continue these conversations within our professional and personal lives? How much more could we all accomplish? Thank goodness that the arts is there to support those who need the creative outlet, and it is wonderful to have an organization like Art Pride providing advocacy for organizations and those who stand with the arts community. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed the conversation with Megan. Please like, share, and subscribe via the YouTube channel, and I hope you all have a fabulous week. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Today is the Day Changemakers. So happy to have you here with us for this episode, and I'm always super excited and always honored to sit across the Zoom with guests that are just tremendous. They're fabulous. They're doing amazing things in their corner of the world. And Megan LoBue is doing that with Art Pride, New Jersey. And I want to read a little bit about her background. She is amazing. She is a nonprofit development professional and grant writer. She is with Art Pride, New Jersey as a development manager and membership manager. Megan is responsible for cultivating relationships with member organizations and individuals. She is also Art Pride's resident data nerd. I loved reading that part, and oversees the organization's databases to track the impact of advocacy and fundraising. Then things get really interesting, Megan, in your bio. So she's also the graduate of University of Scranton, where she studied English and Women's Studies. And in 2009, as a 2009 Fullbright English teaching assistant, she served as a cultural ambassador for the U.S. and taught English language and literature at a college preparatory school in Germany, which we'll definitely get a touch on. And then Megan is also a longtime music and theater nerd, which is totally my alley with the Zach Giaplotter Kids Foundation, and studied at the Electric Theater Company's Griffin Conservatory, as well as AMDA. So, and there's so much more, including, I just want to include this too, she was a grant writer for the NCCN Foundation, a national nonprofit organization where she helped fund easy to understand cancer information and researchers at world-renowned cancer centers. Welcome, Megan. Thank you so much for being part of our broadcast today.
Thank you so much, Jody. It's so nice to be here and to see you again.
Same here. And, we met because Heather from the Grunin Foundation had
she's wonderful.
I know, isn't she? She's amazing. I'm so thrilled to be able to work with her. And we had Jeremy on one of our prior podcast episodes as well. He's amazing. And she introduced us and thought we would, have some synergies. And I'm so glad that she did. Because I got to learn, and we're going to talk a little bit about Art Pride as well. And I want to hear all about what Art Pride does and what you do for them. But I want to go back to your background, because your background sounds so interesting when I was reading.
Thank you. It was so nice to kind of reflect on it when we were preparing for this, because, we're all kind of stuck at home lately still. I mean, thankfully, we're able to work from home, but it was nice to be able to kind of escape to another time for a little bit.
Right. I mean, so let's start with, of course, my fondness is always in the arts. With what I grew up with, and my kids and my niece were all in the arts. So tell me about your journey in the arts and AMDA and anything before that as well.
Absolutely. Arts were always part of my life. I was not an athlete. I was always kind of introverted. So, playing in the school band, singing in the school chorus, doing school plays, that was always kind of my area. I don't know, I guess I was kind of a shy kid. I like to think that. My sister would probably say, no, you were totally loud and overbearing. But,
yes, sister to sister is always interesting.
Right. Well, yes, sisters. Yeah, that was just always something I gravitated toward. I loved performing.
So tell me about what what was your favorite part of being in the performing arts. So were you a singer, a dancer, an actress?
I would say I was mostly a singer, although I played the clarinet for a number of years, and I was actually our school marching band's drum major. So like queen of the of the band nerds.
Awesome.
But I think, always loved the theater. I remember some of the first plays and musicals I saw were right here in New Jersey. So I always had an affinity for New Jersey's arts scene. But being on stage, I think, was a way to not be shy and a way to just be able to feel things and interact with people in a way that you don't get to do that often in like everyday life.
What would you say the arts gave you by being a part of it?
Ooh, I would say maybe a sense of purpose and a sense of self. It also was very comforting, throughout my life because, I was able to sing with other singers when I was living in Germany. So it was always, a commonality that you could find with other people. And part of the reason I kind of gravitated toward Art Pride is there's actors and musicians, comedians on staff there too.
Yeah, so that really is a connection for you, and we see that with the kids in our programming that art, performing arts for us, because that's our specific part. Through the Plutter Kids Foundation, we see that the shy kids can get up on the stage and belt out songs or play an instrument, and then when they get off stage, they go back to being shy again. You get the opportunity. Did you feel that way, that you get the opportunity to play a role on the stage?
Absolutely.
And it gives you a little bit of a break from feeling that, even though it's so funny, right? Because even though you're on that stage and totally judgment definitely can play a role from your audience, that character or who you're playing in that song, or that instrument, you're on there with that instrument. Did that make you feel a little bit more confident?
Absolutely. That was a place where, when you're on stage, everything else could kind of melt away and you can just be in the moment and be yourself.
Yeah. And that's such a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? And that's the key, is that you want to do that in all of our lives, right? It's not just when you're a kid, so it sounds like you gravitated towards something that was still very close to your heart, even though, are you performing anymore?
Not really. My anxiety gets like worse and worse as I get older. So we can talk.
It's funny. A very important topic for me that I'm going to be doing a lot on is vulnerability and judgment. And I feel like those are the two things, whether you're a leader or anybody, we struggle so much with worrying about how people see us in the world and what they'll say about us, as well as being, that's the judgment part. And then you can't be vulnerable if you're afraid of being judged. So fear paralyzes us. Do you feel that that's true?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what do you do? Like you were talking about the anxiety. I think this is a really important topic too, because I totally have had a ton of anxiety growing up, and still I still can't believe I'm even doing a podcast, because I'm great in front of people. I don't really love the camera. I never even liked the way pictures looked of me. So how do you seem to cope or get through that anxiety? Do you have a special thing that you do that helps you through, or it's just talking to yourself?
Well, first, I would never guess that about you, Jody, because no, you're just very positive and warm and easy to talk to. And I think a lot of people who maybe struggle with anxiety, you'd be surprised that they do, because, I drink a lot of tea. I try to, take quiet moments for myself and, be aware of what I'm feeling. I think I hate to say a benefit out of this period we're going through is I think we're much more aware of our mental health and how we're all feeling a little lonely, a little isolated, a little anxious and worried about the future. And now we're kind of able to talk about it because so many people are feeling that way, stuck in the middle of a pandemic.
Absolutely. And I think that is the one thing that nobody judges the other person about, right? So we can openly talk about the fact that we're all, because we say we all, are feeling a certain way. But if we talk about ourselves, to the world, it's scary, and we worry about that. So we collectively can be doing something, but when it's about sharing our own story, I think one of the things that, and when you mentioned about the fact that, I don't portray that, I kind of want to just share in that moment, and thank you for saying that, is because I've resigned myself somewhat, I don't want to say 100%, somewhat to the fact that whoever's going to be listening to this, even if it's one person, if we touch them with a story of what we're sharing and it helps them to do something that, or it makes them feel better in that moment, then that podcast was for that person. And that is why I'm here, and that's why I'm doing it. It's to share the beautiful stories. It's to use the word, even, you're just vulnerable with us about anxiety. And I love that. And I appreciate that. And thank you for that vulnerability, because you've just normalized that for someone else who's watching it, who says, why do I have all this anxiety and feel alone? You're not alone if you have anxiety. There's so many people out there that have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that is why, I try to help and give, tips and things that other people do to kind of get themselves. Yeah, I listen to a morning meditation sometimes, and I can't believe how it totally, I don't know if I know it, I'm not big into meditation, but I can do it. Is it?
Absolutely. And some deep breathing exercises. It's kind of amazing how just allowing yourself to be in the moment and take a deep breath and really focus on your body and what it's doing can help calm those intrusive thoughts.
Absolutely. And those thoughts of, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not,
Not good enough. I'm not XX.
yeah.
Yes.
So, I'm a certified professional coach on top of all the other things that I do. And one of the things when I was in school, they taught us to say the term, stop shoulding all over yourself. And so
I love that.
isn't that great?
I'm going to use that.
It's yours. It's yours for the taking. So yeah, so as soon as that word should, I should have, or why didn't I, or stop shitting all over yourself. You wouldn't want you don't want other people to do it. You don't want to do it,
And isn't it so easy to see when other people are shooting on themselves? It's so easy to see in other people. And I think a lot of times we don't do that for ourselves.
We don't. And we have, every one of us has beauty and so much to share, and we're unique. And so I appreciate you being open about that. And I think that it's so important for people to understand in the arts what that connection means, whether you're a child or you're an adult. It is so much more than playing an instrument or singing a song, right?
Absolute connection. You hit the nail on the head. That's what, the arts help connect us to one another, but just kind of the greater human condition, right? We're all, well, hopefully we won't be in this situation much longer, but how are we connecting with one another now? We're watching TV, we're listening to music, we're consuming art.
Probably more so for those who may not have done that. And I'm seeing them on our open mic nights. I'm hearing that they're listening to music. I think that there's it opened the door to those who may not even take the time to do that because they need that release.
Absolutely.
So, out of all of your past positions, what was your favorite one? Because you have such a great diversity in your background that I loved reading about it.
Oh, thank you. I would have to say probably teaching in Germany.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it was.
Tell us about that. That sounds so.
Oh, well, and thank you for asking about it. Sometimes I don't know, it feels kind of strange to talk about. Sometimes a little braggy because it is. The Fullbright program is kind of a big thing, and the German American program was the flagship Fulbright program after World War II to kind of foster connection between German citizens and American citizens, and just bring a more of a sense of a global community. So it was just like a once in a lifetime experience. I was in a beautiful town, so obviously all of that kind of colors why I like that position so much.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure you see it, working with kids is every day is different, and you can find so many different ways to connect with them. Music was one of them. I got to spend some time with our school's chorus and bands and stuff like that. But just being in a new place, making myself a stranger for a little while, I think was really a time of growth for me. As an anxious kind of shy person, sometimes I look back on it and think how the heck did I do that at
Right?
23, pick up and move to another country? So
Incredible.
that was really fabulous. And it was a town that was in the former East Germany, which gave it a whole other, um, just made it that much more culturally enriching. I hope that doesn't sound um, flippant, but just seeing how other people live and how people lived under kind of a totally different system than I was used to, was really, really eye-opening.
That's incredible. What made you want to get involved in that program?
It's a wonderful question. I always wanted to travel, and I started taking German because my grandfather immigrated to this country uh, when he was 13. He came from Germany, so I always had an affinity, and I'm also just a total people pleaser too. So I thought, like, oh, what a great way to connect with my grandfather. And I had some wonderful mentors at the University of Scranton, where I studied, and that also was another way to connect with professors who had to vouch on my behalf. And I got to talk a lot about, you know talk about more than my studies, which is always nice when you're young and trying to find your way, or at any age trying to find your way, connecting with people and seeing how they got to be where they are, because it's never a straight line, as I think a lot of us think when we're kids. When we,
Right? We're going to do this at this age. We're going to do that at this age. We're going to,
Mhm.
this is a plan.
Absolutely.
No.
And life is not at all like that, but in a kind of a wonderful way.
How long were you in Germany for?
It was only a year. It was an academic school year. Um, and it was just a wonderful experience. I got to, not only sing with our students, but have little Harry Potter reading groups, and help the senior students like prepare for their version of the SAT. So I get to interact with students from like grades 5 to 12. And I wasn't much older than the seniors at the time. So that was, it was also kind of strange to be like now more of an adult than
Yeah,
a student, than a kid.
that's awesome. And you mentioned something when we were leading into this that I wanted to bring back. You had said the sentence of something like, and I'm not quoting you exactly. It was about, I don't want to be braggy, right? I don't want to be braggy. And so I want to bring that up for a reason, because I feel like as women, and it could be anybody. It could be anybody.
Mhm.
I use that for right now. As women, and depends upon how we're brought up, because same, I was brought up like you, about the bragging, about, you know what I mean, don't put yourself in the limelight, make sure that you know what I mean, you don't want people to think you're conceited, or
Mhm.
and it's what about being confident, right? That though they never really talked about, like, don't be conceited, don't put yourself out there in the limelight, don't make, right? Does that,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even if it's not, someone saying to you, don't be braggy, I think you just grow up learning that, nobody likes a braggart. Be sensitive to how others are feeling around you. I think particularly as women, we're kind of culturalized to be sensitive to others, maybe put their needs first.
yeah. And people, like you said before, people pleaser,
Total people pleaser.
we have a lot in common in the way we grew up. And then I'm older than you for sure, but I definitely will say we grew up very similarly in that, you know, but they never said be confident. They just said don't be conceited, or if,
Mhm.
but yet the confident piece, right, is so important. But then it goes too far too, sometimes too. So as a leaders a lot of times don't feel like they can be vulnerable, because they always have to be confident
Mhm.
in their stature, in the way they speak, and all of that. And I feel that we need to have more vulnerability and show people that it's okay to just be human, you know?
Right, because we all are. That's the one thing we have in common. When it seems like we don't have much, we're at least all human.
I totally agree with you. And it doesn't matter what your title or what your experience has been. It's all about just being a good person. So I don't care what level you are within an organization. It's all about just giving from your heart and being true to yourself. And so I appreciate your vulnerability today. So thank you so much we're teaching people out there today, Megan, you and I.
Right.
An example.
Well, and I think, being nonprofit development people, always fundraising and asking for money, I think it can come across as very extroverted. And I feel like, like put on your fundraiser suit, put on my makeup, like kind of transform into that. But yeah, it's really something that I have to work at. And it's comforting to know that I'm not alone.
Oh no, not even close. And like you said, a lot of people see, I always say it's like we put the armor on every day. And you said it just now perfectly, right? So as a nonprofit development person or leader or whoever you are in that, you have to throw on the armor because you have to have that confidence to be able to ask for funds, cold call, introduce yourself, whatever it is. Or I don't know about you, but I never loved going into networking events where I didn't at least know one other person in the room.
I'm getting like chills just thinking about that. I would get so nervous. And knowing that you need to network, especially nowadays where I don't even want to say it's all who you know, but everything is relationship building and seeing, where your networks intersect. And I would get just so anxious, sitting in the car before, before going into a chamber event or something like that. So we're all suffering silently.
We are. And so what I like to teach on this, and I like to go out and speak about networking and train on networking because everybody makes the circle, right? That circle. When you know what I mean? You've got yourself and two or three other people, and now you're walking in by yourself, and you might even know somebody in that circle, but they've closed off standing and everybody's standing together in that circle. So you can't get in. It's like I can't get my shoulder into the circle to say hi to John or Tom or whoever or Jane. And so at that point you're like by yourself. But in networking, it's supposed to be about inviting people into your group. And I think that you still get that look sometimes of judgment when you walk in the room, right? And it feels judgy.
Yeah. And I wonder if everyone is feeling the same way. And it's like, well, I have my person. Like, I need my person with me. You can't come in.
So it's funny, I talk to other people about this in all levels within organizations, and they all say the same thing. They hate it. They don't like it.
So interesting.
That are extroverts that are like, oh, I love it. I just, they're kind of were probably the class clown growing up, or they were like, the one making the jokes in the middle of class in high school, but which is great. And I really want to get more of that personality going for myself. I still, and I'm an extrovert introvert. So I'm an extrovert, but there's times within the day that I need to be by myself. And I've learned to realize that and accept that.
I once heard the difference between extrovert and introvert described as extroverts get their energy being with other people. And introverts get it from kind of solitude and alone time. And I don't know how scientific or even accurate that is, but yes, there definitely are times where you can feed off of other people's energy and, be there in the moment with people. But then I definitely need a lot of quiet time and throughout the day. I feel you on that.
I gotta tell you, when I realized that I was a little bit more of an introvert than I even thought, because I thought I outgrew that, is when the pandemic happened. Because I used to have the downtime because I was always driving. So I would have, I'd go to the networking events or I'd go into an office to, to a client or whatnot, and I'd sit across the table, we'd have meetings, and I'd get energy. I need that energy. But then I have the drive time back to the house or to the next meeting to be that introvert, listen to the music, listen to a podcast. And that was gone because I was just on Zoom after Zoom after Zoom or working on the computer with, the president of the organization or whatever. And I wasn't having the drive time, that downtime that I really needed because you live with people and there's always something going on. And yeah, so I think we all have to kind of figure it out. Did you have any epiphanies through the process about yourself?
I think I agreed. I realized I am more introverted than I thought. I had thought I outgrew a lot of it, kind of going to networking events or conferences where I had to, talk to people about whatever project I was working on. And when the pandemic happened, I realized I kind of enjoyed more of the alone time. It took some of the pressure off of, oh, I should be going out and doing this or going out and seeing this person. It gave me more time to reflect, which I think just the general pace of life lately, it was nice to kind of have a reason to press pause on some things, as horrible as that reason was. Um, Trying to find some good in it was recognizing that I like my
You are,
quiet time, and that's okay.
and you know what? You are not alone in that. A lot of people have said, the pause, if there wasn't the pandemic and there was an opportunity to just pause, it was like we kind of almost all needed that. I know I was running like a chicken without a head. I mean, it was just go, go, go all the time. And it became overwhelming at times. It does become overwhelming. Like you said, I heard you just say too, you should be going there, or you should be doing this, or you should be doing that.
Shitting all over myself.
Yeah, right. But I went, yeah, and it's funny because it just came to me while I was saying it, but that's exactly the pressure I felt too, because I was saying I'm still learning how to stop doing that to myself as well. Feel pulled. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's good information about the pause, and really finding out if we're introverts or extroverts, and how to play within both, side.
Yes,
So let's talk about Art Pride. I'm excited to talk about Art Pride.
absolutely.
And what I don't know that everybody knows what Art Pride is. So if you could start from the beginning of what does Art Pride do, your mission, who you serve.
Absolutely. Yeah, Art Pride is kind of a well-kept secret, I think, for a lot of people in the greater public, but for arts professionals throughout New Jersey, they know us as their biggest advocate in state and federal budget discussions in particular. We've been advocating for the arts, I want to say, since the late 80s, and Art Pride is an art service organization. So not only do we advocate for the arts, we offer kind of cooperative and marketing programs, and really serve as connectors for any arts you can imagine, from every corner of New Jersey.
That's great. So give me, so when you say arts, it's not just performing arts, right? Is it art? It's art in the way of drawing, in the way, if your organization is about illustration, whatever, any.
Okay. Yes, performing arts, fine arts.
Thank you.
And I should say we have member organizations kind of every size and variety you can imagine, from our large performing arts centers to small dance studios and community galleries and things like that.
That's great.
So
I didn't know that.
it's wonderful. We have so much arts in New Jersey. It's wonderful to be able to see it all, and it's all can be a challenge to serve everyone, right? Because the needs of your large performing arts organization is not the same as an organization like Zach G.
Right. Yeah. Very, very, very different. Yeah. If you're talking about like a theater or, anything like that, we are definitely not that. So with everybody and your local, so the local dance studio or vocal studio is who we do deal with. So I didn't know that some of those are your members as well. So that's really good to know. And to let them know that you exist too.
Yeah, we are making a concerted effort to reach out to more organizations. We realize, we don't know what we don't know and who we don't know. And this seemed like a time, right? Not quite pressing pause, because so many arts organizations and artists have really been devastated by the pandemic. But it's given us an opportunity to kind of evaluate what we do and respond to the needs of the arts community. So
That's
that
great.
has been an upside.
How many members would you say approximately do you have now?
I would say we have about 200 organizational members.
And staff-wise, how large is your organization?
We are a staff of 7. So we have our advocacy person, our web person. You've said before, we all wear many hats in the nonprofit world, certainly, and that is certainly true at Art Pride.
Oh, that's awesome. So for those who are out there, give us an example of some of the membership benefits that members actually receive by joining.
Absolutely. I would say first and foremost is a voice, an advocacy voice. We have advocacy alerts that help you stay informed and give you an opportunity to contact your congressperson or lawmaker if there's decisions being made. Certainly with CARES funding, that was a big. We had a huge advocate push, which was wonderful. I'd say 11 or 12,000 people. On the membership side, where I predominantly work, we have some cooperative programs. So right now we have our Audience Insights Manager, which is a cultural database kind of designed to help organizations know who their members are, know who their supporters are, and kind of dig into the data about them, right? Because some people that have been frequenting your organization, that maybe they're single ticket buyers over time, and you can't see those patterns unless you're kind of digging into the data, but also maintaining it so you know that it's usable. So that's where my data nerd comes in. And then our marketing programs, I think a lot of people know Discover Jersey Arts. We just celebrated the Discover Jersey Arts 20th anniversary, and that is a partnership that we run with the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. Discover Jersey Arts promotes and markets arts organizations. Maybe you've seen some seasonal campaigns, or I love our Jersey Arts road trip, and I think that's kind of also pressed pause because it highlights organizations around the state and their communities, right? A lot of what we talk about at Art Pride is the public value of the arts. So, right, we know kind of the feel-good benefits of the arts and that sort of thing, but we actually have research and data that shows not only are arts kind of good for our soul, they're also good for our economies. It's good for business. If you're, going out to see a show, you're probably paying a babysitter, going to a restaurant, maybe having a couple drinks or two, buying a shirt or something afterward. So the arts add a lot to our lives and our communities.
No, absolutely. Our economy, it's a lot of money in the economy through the arts. That's for sure. No matter what state you live in, it's all the same there. How have you seen arts organizations? And I don't know if you have this view, but I'd love it if you shared something. How have you seen arts organizations come together since the pandemic started? Has any stories come to mind for you?
One thing that has been really nice to see, and it's kind of another Art Pride plug, but kind of very early on, we started hosting Friday webinars, kind of synthesizing all of this information that was coming out, not about health concerns and PPP loans and how do we get protective equipment. So it was really nice to see people come together in a Zoom format just to kind of stay abreast of what was going on, but also see how other organizations are doing. It's also given us time, and I think a number of organizations that we serve, it's given us time to work on our equity, diversity, and inclusion initiatives, which can kind of become a buzzword, certainly a grant-friendly word, but I think it's given a lot of us time to reflect on our missions and make sure that we are, staying true to our mission and serving the people that we're committed to serving.
I think that's really very, very true. It is, a lot of organizations are not representative of the people that they serve at the board level, at the staff level. And
absolutely.
And there's a lot of training, and I've spoken to leaders on this podcast who have talked about what they're doing and shared that they've made mistakes. They've been open about it. They've openly shared, what, I didn't realize that I was not doing what I needed to do. And they're actually taking classes and doing things to change that. And I'm glad you brought that up because that is a really important point. DEI is definitely become a topic, but it should have never become, it should have always been. Right?
That's well said. Absolutely.
And, it's unfortunate it took some sort of unfortunate thing to happen in the world to create a buzz about it.
Absolutely. And if there's, one benefit of the arts is, right, it's a place for us to understand our world, make sense of our world, and show other points of view. I mean, it's can they can be spaces for radical change and new thoughts and new people, new ideas.
Absolutely. And what I love about the arts, it's always been that, not always, I don't want to say always, but the arts allows for diversity. It has, throughout the process, obviously in more recent years. But it definitely is a place for healing through this. There could be a lot of healing through the arts. So anything else on Art Pride that you feel that, it'd be great for other people to learn about Art Pride? I just want to, ask you that as the last question around that.
Absolutely. I'd say, I'm going to chuckle because I'm playing this newest employee card as long as I can. But I've been here a little over a year, probably it'll be close to 2 years this summer. And we're always looking for new and better ways to serve our members. This past year has been just such a radical time. We're all having to reevaluate how we serve our members, but how we connect with our audiences, what's working, what's not working. And on the membership side, we're really, and in general, we're trying to figure out what does serving the arts community mean. For a long time, it was just advocacy, and I almost want to walk that back, because just advocacy is so kind of a misnomer, because we actually had a good year this year, in part because of years and years and years of advocacy work on the part of my colleagues to make sure that the public and lawmakers know just how valuable the arts are. So we want to be more than an advocacy organization, although that's at the heart of what we do, but also connect with new organizations, more artists, and see how we can really build a community in our very diverse in many ways our state. For a while I lived in Morris County, New Jersey, and now I'm down in Burlington County. And when I moved, everyone said, there's two New Jerseys, they're separate states. But also we have so many different, shore communities and suburban and urban areas. There's just a lot of talent and a lot of just wonderful things happening.
I think, I try to keep the podcast interactive. So if anybody listening is from an arts organization and has questions about Art Pride, has thoughts about how, what maybe some benefits would be good for Art Pride to provide for arts organization, it sounds like you're very open to hearing those types of, possibilities.
Absolutely. And I'm the person to talk to. Or our website has so many resources, public policy recommendations, but also a directory of our members and ways to improve your ways to develop your audience and to make your case for the arts. Right, a lot of what we do as fundraisers is finding the data that backs up what we're asking for, and we have data at the state level, but also at the county level, of just how much an investment in the arts pays off in the community in terms of students in school and dollars in the economy and full-time jobs that are supported, because it is a huge industry and a huge influence on our communities.
Absolutely. No, that is really, really true. And I'm glad that you said all of that, because even I don't know that you have all of those resources on your website. What is your website, Megan?
It's artpridenj.org.
Awesome. That's great. So I do want to ask, I there's two more questions I wanted to ask you. And one is mentorship. That is something that I advocate for, very much so. I'm, whether you are being mentored at any age or a mentor to others, is there something that a mentor had shared with you that stood out? And have you had mentors throughout your life?
I have had the benefit of a number of mentors that really helped me kind of find myself and certainly shaped my life. But I remember one mentor in particular was an acting instructor I had, and at the time I was thinking like, if I really wanted to do this professionally, I wasted so much time. I'm, whatever age that I was, where I thought, oh, I'm too old to do anything. And she told me that time is never wasted because everything you do, every moment of your life gives you more tools in your emotional toolbox. She was talking, in the sense of, you know, you're a better actor when you have more tools in your toolbox. But that was really helpful to me at that moment in life, because I think it can be easy to kind of look back, and right now we have time to look back and think that, a lot of doors are closed to us now. But really everything you do is just brings you that much closer to whoever you're going to be today, tomorrow, 10 years from now.
Yeah, that is so, so true. And that is kind of why the name Today is the Day is, what my consulting business, my nonprofit consulting business, and this podcast, because, if you don't do it today, then when? Nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. And it hurts. So it's, what are those steps that you could take? Because time, although we don't want to think it's racing past, we know that the days go pretty quickly. So it is about taking whatever that baby step is or big step is every single day to get you to where you want to be. So that is a great one for a mentor to share. And then my last question that I ask all of my guests are, if you knew then what you know now, what would that be?
I would say, don't be so worried about being nice. And maybe that sounds strange, right? But, we've talked about being people pleasers and kind of high achievers, sensitive people. And I think sometimes being nice can be seen as, I don't even want to say it can be seen as a weakness, but I find that, when I do push back or stop people pleasing or try to push back on my permission seeking behavior, once people get used to you kind of being a certain way and being like, you got it, I can do that. I'm just that kind of person. Like, you need something, I'll figure out how to do that. And then it means that I overcommit, or I'm not able to give it what I wanted to. And so sometimes, not worrying about being nice or being liked, because that frees you to make confident, thoughtful decisions instead of kind of worrying about, right? That's, I guess, a version of worrying about what people think, right?
It's amazing.
So don't be so nice, just be yourself.
Well, no, and
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say that I think that was so perfectly said, and it's not be mean. You're not saying be mean. You're saying be yourself. Be true to who you are, because obviously you're wearing a costume. And there's no other way that I can think of it. If I think of visually, if you're not being yourself, you're wearing a costume, and something is covering up who you truly are. Yeah.
That is a wonderful way to say that, right? Because you're not being yourself, you're being this kind of artificial version. You're wearing a costume. I will definitely give credit where credit's due, but you've had couple things I'm going to repeat and take with me.
They're yours, totally yours. And that makes me feel honored that you even want to use them. So thank you. That's so nice. So I think that what you just said about not being too nice, but just being yourself, I always say the armor we're putting on, or the costume we're putting on, it's incredibly important. And again, I want to thank you for your vulnerability today, because it's incredibly important to think about why we get nervous about walking in the room and the networking, why we get nervous I was always nervous in front of the camera because I was worried I couldn't see the faces of the people and if they were engaged or not. So then I thought, well, people are going to be making fun of my glasses, or they're going to hate my hair, or they're going to, But so when I used to go into
Mhm.
presentations, I would start my presentation with many times, okay, so how many of you judged how my hair looked or hate my dress or hate my, like, you don't realize you're even thinking it to yourself
Mhm.
until somebody points it out and you're like, oh, I didn't realize I was that judgy, you know?
Right. Yes. And in reality, I think, a lot of times we're worried about what people are thinking of us, and they're not thinking about us at all. And I don't mean that in a negative sense. I mean,
Right.
we all have whole worlds going on inside us, and other things we're thinking about, other responsibilities. So it's really so much of what we put on ourselves. You know, everyone's
It's,
living in their own little world sometimes.
it's the story. We tell ourselves these stories and we don't even know if they're real. And the other part is that, somebody says or does something that just feels bad. We don't ask them why they said it half the time. We just take it in with us. And I don't know about you, but me, I'll think about it for 4 days or a week,
Hmm.
days or whatever.
Yeah. And just go over and over. Oh, we hit it off right away. I think the first time we talked, Jody, especially because um,
Mhm.
Zach G, I don't know, kind of resonated with me. My dad always wanted to be an actor. And just it's such a wonderful way to honor your father's memory and give opportunities to students, to kids who, could have been me one day, or could be, a niece, a friend, a cousin. Um, the arts just makes such a difference. And
Thank you.
that was my bragging on you for a little bit.
Well, since we're going to do that, I'm going to brag on you, and I'm going to hope you're going to try out for our Step into the Spotlight soiree and talent competition. That's
I may, like, you're hard to say no to. And also it's just not, one thing that's been nice about, kind of being home alone working all day is, sing at the top of my lungs, or go back to music or things that I've, performed in the past. So I may have to.
See, you didn't know you were rehearsing for our
Right.
our fundraising gala.
Yes.
I don't know. We have people from all over who perform. 10 people. We choose only 10 that perform in front of Broadway people from Broadway, film, and TV. And we had two youth judges this year. Who one was from Raising Dion, which is on Netflix. The other was on the ABC, one of the shows on ABC. And so they were two youth judges who came out with just great critiques and just was so funny and so great. And then we had adults as well judging. It's all about fun, and it's all it's not about judgment. It's all in great fun and raising money to support the kids that couldn't afford to take ongoing lessons. So I'm hopeful, Megan, that you're going to send us an audition tape once we're ready for it, and we'll
Oh,
get to hear your voice. Are you a soprano? Are you?
I'm an alto. Maybe
Ooh,
mezzo soprano at one point, but solidly an alto now.
that I cannot wait. I don't know what your voice will sound like, so this is going to be so super fun.
Oh, well, I'm gonna have to get practicing then. A little rehearsing.
It's in the fall. It's in the fall. I'm so grateful to you because the conversation today didn't go exactly like it. That's what I love about the podcast is that we don't script either way. We just kind of go with the flow of the conversation, and you were open to that, and I appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you. I was kind of beating myself up at the beginning, like I should have talking points, like I should have prepared better for this. I should. And I mean, you were wonderful in the whole process, saying, "Don't worry, it's a conversation," and it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you even said it before. I'm going to say it now. It's what I end every podcast with, which is today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So take the first step, whatever that is, to get yourself closer today towards your goals. Megan, thank you so much for your time and your expertise and your heart today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for this opportunity. I
Absolutely. Everybody,
appreciate
please.
you.
Aw, thank you. Thank you so much. Everybody, please check out Art Pride New Jersey and chat with Megan. If you're an arts organization or interested in getting involved in any way, Megan is the person to reach out to, and we'll have that information if you look at the transcription for the podcast as well as on the YouTube channel. There'll be more information there for you. Megan, all the best. Let's get out of this pandemic so we can go have some fun and hang.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see you in person.
I know, only through Zoom. Zoom.
Right?
All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time on the next episode. Have a great day.
Thank you.